Hello, SAG-AFTRA artists. How are you today? I'm here with our wonderful dear friend, Miss Gabrielle Carteris. As you probably know by now, earlier this month, the governor of California authorized that productions could resume.
Yeah.
However, given we are still in the global pandemic, this announcement was met with a mixture of enthusiasm and caution, as everyone wanted to make sure that if we are going to return to work, we would be able to do so safely. Thankfully, our union, SAG-AFTRA, is central in this rollout, last week releasing the Safe Way Forward, a multi-union report on COVID-19 safety guidelines in collaboration with the DGA, IATSE, and the Teamsters. And the guidelines set forth a detailed set of science-based protocols serving as a path for employers in this industry to uphold their responsibility in providing safe workplaces in a pre-vaccine COVID-19 world. This also comes at a time when SAG-AFTRA has just reached a new tentative contract with the studios for film, TV, and new media. So while some productions will inevitably resume, this is going to be a sea change, as stated in the guidelines. However, these protections will help to ensure our health and safety as performers, as well as the health and safety of our loved ones. To help shine a light, we have Ms. Gabrielle here, the union president, who is also a dedicated member of our board here at SAG-AFTRA Foundation. She's going to help us better understand what these guidelines mean for performers as we eventually return to the set. Thank you, Gabrielle.
Thank you, Courtney. I want to say thank you for all you do. Really appreciate you.
Bless you.
And you make a difference. So thank you so much.
You know, it is a pleasure to be here in this position, and there's a need out there. There's a huge need, as you know, and it's important to know that I have a friend on the other side to help all of our membership go forward.
I hope we're all on the same side there. Yeah, I would say. I said this to you earlier, but I want everybody to hear it. I believe everybody comes in their time and to where they need to be. And you are so in your time. We need you, and the work you've done to help members to make sure that during COVID, you come into office and suddenly COVID-19 occurs, members are in incredible need, and you rose to the occasion to help really raise funds to support members. And I am hearing from them from around the country, their gratitude that it's really, the foundation has really made a difference in a time of great anxiety. It's become an anchor. So I think it's important for you to hear that and for everybody who's listening to know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And know that we all appreciate all the work that you've done. So as we jump in, shall we jump into these questions? Let's jump in. You find yourself, Ms. Gabrielle, in a tough position at a very tough period. Tell us what it has been like to see so many SAG-AFTRA members out of work during this pandemic, and just how important it was that the SAG-AFTRA union secured relief for so many on a federal level.
First of all, seeing our members in such strife and pain and struggle it's always a challenge. We never have had it, of course, it's across the board from the people who are just starting in their careers to people who have had very long, rich careers. We're all in that same place. Mm-hmm. We've worked, when you're talking about, on a federal level, that would be legislatively. We've been working diligently in Washington to make sure that we were included in the CARES Act. It was very important. A lot of our members have mixed income, and we're really trying to rectify the fact that they're not receiving necessarily the same kind of unemployment benefits. As a result, we wanted to make sure that was included. We've been fighting tirelessly for that, and we wanted to make sure that that our members all would be able to receive some kind of compensation or support if they needed it. We did very well with the CARES Act. Now we're working on, the next stimulus package coming out. I've been dealing with a lot of our representatives up in Washington along with other unions who are helping us as well, really trying to make sure, again, that we are not missed so that we can go and, as everybody is struggling through this time, come out not being devastated, but rather sustained in a way that we can continue moving forward with hope. It's an important time, but we've been working very, very tirelessly. And it's not just the union in terms of leadership. We have members who have been fighting the fight with us and really helping. And I want to say to everybody out there, please stay connected to the work that we're doing. They can look at the SAG-AFTRA website for legislation that we're looking for support on. We want everybody to participate in helping to write to, the correct representative, congressperson, whatever, that for any kind of letter writing or communications. We need people to be engaged in that process because it is our voices that will help us rise. So that's what we really need everybody to participate.
That's one of the messages that we continue to push forward in our fireside chats, just to stay connected, just to keep because that's how we get stronger, and that's how we're a team, we're a voice, we're a unit.
And a union, right? That's what community is.
That's right. It's been a long road back since the industry shut down. Tell us what the SAG-AFTRA union did in helping production find a way to move forward.
Well, I wanted to say, you said something earlier, and I think that this is something I want to make sure it's clear. The documents that we worked on, the white paper, which we did with the other unions and guilds along with the industry, and then the joint union protocols that we just put forward in order for the industry to open what we think is the safest possible way. It's not going to be safe. I believe that until there is a vaccine, it will not be safe. We can only make it safer. And I think that what's been wonderful for us as a union, we have members who never stop working. We represent broadcasters as well, who've been out on the streets covering this information and actually have been subjected to becoming ill themselves when they're covering it in the hospitals or when they're even at the protests that are going on. They're out there and they're vulnerable. Immediately, we had to make sure that they had the protections they needed on, whatever kind of equipment, PPE equipment they needed. We wanted to make sure that happened. We have members who are still working who do voiceover. They're able to do that right now out of their homes. But a lot of our members who are ready to go back to work, who really want to be back at work and know that we'll never have a safe way to do it until, again, there's a remedy, but we do have this safer way to do it. They wanted that path, and we wanted to empower them to feel confident enough to at least know what's out there. So we started working with epidemiologists and scientists. We've been following the facts, the CDC, really hearing the information, not what we think is safe, but really looking at what is safe as we know it now. And we worked with the other unions and guilds, as I said, as well as the industry to talk about, we went from everything from hair, makeup, wardrobe, to what it means to be in your dressing room when you're entering the set. We really had to look at in detail. If you look at the protocols, we had to create guidelines that gave us a structure and a clear path so that people could re-enter the workplace feeling as confident as possible. I think that the document, to say what we've put forward, is so comprehensive. With all this work that we've done, the thing to know is that science is discovering new things about COVID-19. And that it will be fluid too. There will be changes as we move forward. But right now, this document, we did it because we didn't want the states just to open up for production without any kind of structure. We didn't want to be the wild, wild west. We wanted our members to know that when they went on a set, there was an expectation and a requirement for them to have the safest possible set. And I think we've accomplished that.
And it has to be there, because otherwise folks wouldn't. I know we're going to go back to work at some point in Atlanta, and our Genius series, and that's the question: is the how? How does it happen? What are the guidelines? And so it's so important that these guidelines have been issued. And the other thing that comes out of this is that we learning to work together, closely with our fellow members and fellow guilds. That's I think the secondary benefit of
right. It's the silver. I was saying in any crisis, if you can find a silver lining, I think that the silver lining is really that idea that we're not alone, not just as a union, but all of us together, all the unions and guilds together, That's what makes us strong, right?
Right.
Our communication and working together.
I was wondering if you can highlight some of the biggest changes that we as performers should know about the new guidelines addressed in the Safe Way Forward.
There's so many, the things that we're going to really notice is a difference on a set when you go is that we are really looking for barriers. We're calling them safety barriers, where there's performers. Out of everybody on set, we want everybody safe. Performers, though, are the one group on set that have no ability, once you're on camera, to be wearing or utilizing PPE. And that's the protective, equipment. And so, there's no masks unless you're working on a show that happens to be a medical show or a show that's about a pandemic. There's no way, as if you and I were doing a scene together, we don't have the same protections as the crew, who will have their PPE, and they'll be, at least 6 feet away from us. But we might be in we're most likely the ones to be in the most vulnerable position. So we've created within the documents the idea that, there are different areas, and there has to be a barrier, safety barrier, where actors who are working together are actually kept away from everybody else. We have, and that will be a different experience where, on a set when you work, we like to joke around with the crew and hang out with them. It's not going to be that same kind of environment. And the only people who will be on set, sometimes when you have visitors come to be there, that's no longer allowed. We have to make sure that it's only the essential people who will be on sets during the time that we work. In our dressing rooms, the idea that people don't come in and out of your dressing room. We're looking at hair and makeup. We realize, and we've been talking to IA about the fact that some of this work will, we want to protect also the makeup artists. So some of it might be done with a Zoom, where you have the makeup artist not physically next to you, but they might be doing it from a camera, or they have to make sure, if they are doing it with you, that you're in a space that others have not been in or are not in. We're making sure that everybody has their own personal, makeup and tools, where not just that they clean them, but they're your personal, to come start with you and end with you. We're going to see, we're going to see a difference in, everybody talks about craft service. There'll be no open food place like that. Everything will be put into, a container of some sort. It'll be isolated out, and you won't be bringing food in. What is brought there and what is made available will have gone through a process to be there. So unless you bring your own food before you come, we will not be having people deliver. So the restrictions that we've done, the guidelines are based on the idea that how do we minimize the exposure of any kind of illness coming to you? How do we minimize so there's as much protection as possible? As a result, I think you're going to see a lot of shifts going on. I'm already talking to directors, writers, producers. They're trying to write in such a way that maybe we're going to see. I was saying this in an interview the other day. We might see less intimate scenes. The scenes that, we've come into a time, and Courtney, we've been around for a while, where there was a time when things were not so graphic. Right. It's more graphic now. I think as a result of what's going on, we're going to see a different kind, and maybe we'll go back into more of our imagination. Right. Our dialogue will tell the story.
Right.
So I think you'll see shifts there. I know writers are talking about, directors are talking about shooting differently. Writers are not making big group scenes the same way. Now you're going to see, I think it's going to be a very different style, and it's going to be an exploration as we move forward, because everybody has an idea of what it's going to look like, but until we really implement it, I think that it's going to be a very transformative time.
I think that's interesting that because that was a question that I had, because we're doing a project about Aretha's life, and it takes place in churches and in venues and things, and they may have to adjust the scripts so that we don't have the intimate scenes, so that it can be shot and we can shoot and get out of there.
Right.
I see. Wow, that's. Recently, we've received notices from the union that they shouldn't participate in specific productions due to safety concerns. What advice do you have for members who are desperate to get back to work, and why is it so important that the guidelines are followed?
Well, first of all, the guidelines are created to help empower the individual. What you heard were the shows prior to the white paper coming out and the guidelines that we put forth, the joint union guidelines. prior to that, productions were still wanting to start up. And so we were doing it we were clearing production by production rather than now this opens the door for more productions to, go out there. But if people don't want to follow, I know there's people who don't want to wear masks, when we go out in public. Right. And what I want to say is it's not only for you, it's for everybody else that is out in that public area. We are here to protect our members, and we are looking to make sure that things can be as safe as possible. We are looking at science, as I said earlier, and we see right now there's an uptick going on in our country with COVID. It's not disappearing. It's actually, you see states right now are coming to capacity. This is something that we're paying very close attention to. I know people want to work, but I know also people want to live. But we are hearing more from members than not, the desire to work, but not to work in a place where they are exposed.
And then to that end, what happens on a set when one person feels they don't want to wear masks, and for the most part everyone has masks on? So it's the requirement.
So the actors, we're not wearing PPE there, but it's the requirement to be on the set. And this is something we work with the studios as well, because it was important. It wouldn't have mattered if we had just written something and put it out there, because unless you have everybody on board, right, nothing's really actionable, right? It's not enough to say, this is what I want. You want to make sure it's enforced. Right. So the reason that we've really worked with everybody on this across the board is because with all voices, ships rise. And we are doing this. That's why, so it will be enforced. It's not a choice for the crew will be doing the PPE, the distancing will be happening. And if there's somebody who's on a set and they feel that they're in a situation that's been compromised, they are able to call the union, call us. There will be, and there's a number that you'll see it on the paper that people can go on the SAG-AFTRA.org website. We will go to make sure that it's enforced.
Will that person be on the SAG? That's the SAG-AFTRA rep, right? Will that person be on the set initially? Because I know when we go back, there'll be a big company meeting, and the guidelines will be gone over, and the protocols and all. Because one of the things that I ask for is that put that number on the call sheet,
right,
prominently displayed. Would tell us what corner it's going to be,
right,
so that we can. You don't have to search for it. You have an issue, pick up the phone and call right there. Yes. If there's a problem, you feel that if I don't feel safe, then you have to go. You have to get off.
It's not just a rep there. We have actually every production is required to have a person who's going to be on there, who's going to be implementing the safety, and that's part of the guidelines that we created. So the studios are going to be, and they're understanding they are responsible for that person who's going to be there. They're going to be doing, which is very important. People don't realize we are enforcing testing. And this is really an important aspect to us keeping our sets and our members healthy. We want to know as best as possible if people are coming in with fevers, if there'll be the proper, there's proper testing that's, more effective than others. All those things actually are going to be utilized when people are on set. So this is, that's a different thing. Some people are very excited about that. They feel that makes them feel more comforted. Others are like, well, I don't want to take a test. Well, you know what? Again, it's not just about the individual who's coming to work. It's everybody else. And I don't like wearing a mask in public. I don't want to always have a swab or however they're going to put up my nose maybe. But really, in the end, I do care if it makes a difference. Of course, I want to make sure that I stay healthy and everybody around me is as healthy as possible.
Are there any other highlights to update? I know you reached an agreement with the studios. I think we've talked about these. Any updates for our performers? What should they expect when they go back to the set moving forward? How can we prepare to go back? Anything we can do to prepare?
Well, I'd like everybody to be able to go onto the website and to look at what the guidelines are, the protocols. I think that the more informed people are, the better, more comfortable they'll be, because I don't want them to wait to be told. It's there for them to see. and it will continue to evolve. So stay connected to that. But no, what I want to say to everybody is, I know it feels like it's endless, but when you look at it, it's been 4 months. I can't say it's going to change in the next 2 months, but within, there is a certain amount of time. And at one point we will be moving on. And the most important thing is everybody's health. We want everybody to stay well. Things will be transformative. If you look at during the Spanish flu, that was the era of silent movies. And some of our most famous actors at that time actually contracted the Spanish flu and had to stop working. The industry shut down for over, I think, a period of a couple of years, actually, on and off. But in the end, when the industry came back and it was really vibrant, it was talkies. And was how interesting, right? In this, we talk about in the time of this, what feels like a dark period, actually can spring something new and exciting. And I would say to our members, I think we are in a dawn of a new age in our industry where, we're going to see technology bringing us up and giving us opportunity, like we're Zooming right now. We're going to see it. I've been going to the electronics shows now for the last couple of years. There are aspects of technology that will be really helpful for us. And it will be interesting to see how that manifests in the next rebirth of our industry as we move forward.
I think that's what we can bring to when we get back to the set, that spirit of patience and helpfulness and understanding that we're all in this together. We're trying to figure this out together, and if we do that, then we will, as you said, there's something magical, wonderful, transformative can happen. But if we come with that spirit of, well, that's not what we used to do, those days are gone. It's gone. That's gone.
Don't drag it behind you.
We'll see if we can. We'll see if we can bring some of that stuff with us. But in the short run, we all have to set that aside and go forward. I so appreciate you, Gabrielle. Thank you so much for doing this for us. I'm sure all this will be very helpful for our members moving ahead. I want to thank you for being part of this discussion. We'll include a link in the description of the video for SAG-AFTRA to the SAG-AFTRA website where the guidelines are available, and we'll be communicating any and all updates as we move forward. I look forward to reuniting with all of you, and watching all of you in due course. Everyone stay safe, stay connected, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Blessings. Thank you so much, Courtney. Take care. Thank you.